friends, this is Laura with Potpourri of Life. I hope that you're doing great. Today is January 31st, 2025. We made it through the first month. It's been kind of a turbulent time though, across our nation, across the world, in everyday life. So there's a lot of things that are going on, and I'm aware of many because I try to keep up with the news, but I try not to sit on it. I try to keep up with things that are important to me. So things that are important to me is where is our country going, and where are our relationships going, where is the education system going, where is our healthcare going. And you know, I had to pause a lot this month as I reflect. And, you know, the last few days when I've been watching I'll call the interrogation by the Senate, these individuals do not even give RFK or Tulsi even a chance to respond. These are people that if you don't sit there and hound them, will give you clear and concise answers. When you badger them, you're not going to get what you want, because as you're badgering, as you're interrupting, you're not giving them an opportunity to say what they need to say. So you're not giving them a chance to be vocal. And so when I look at this, I'm thinking, how many of you up there will I not vote for next year, or the next time you're up for a re-election? If I could vote in every state, I wouldn't vote for any of you that are treating others like this. Because first of all, it shows a lack of respect, a lack of dignity, and you think that you're coming across as powerful and better and you're smarter. You know what? The government, the people in the government who run our country are supposed to work together for the good of the people who are their employers. Now that does not mean I'm going to go and say, hey, I'm going to fire you. It's not like that. They are our employees, and I expect them to treat others, those they work with, others that come to visit, or anything that has anything or a view that's different than them, with respect. So, and I won't mention any of the names, because if any of you have seen any portion of this interrogation, you would know what I'm talking about. And if you put yourself in that place, if you think it's good, we don't need RFK, we don't want Tulsi. I believe the reason people don't want Tulsi is they're afraid. They're afraid of what she's going to expose. You know, we need to stop hiding behind the truth, because the truth will always set you free, but also it will be shown. I'm not going to say karma, but eventually the truth comes out. So why lie? I can often tell when somebody's lying to me. And a lot of times, some of those things is just kind of like very visible. One of the things that really concerned me was how they did not give these individuals the respect of allowing them to answer their questions. I'm not saying their questions were not valid. I'm not saying that at all. What is not valid and what is not appropriate is how they yell, scream at them, make demands, interrupt them, don't even give them a chance to answer the questions. As they're answering, you're speaking over them by yelling. It shows your true character. And honestly, I don't like having you in our government, because you don't have any of us you don't have, you're not doing this job for the people. You're doing it for yourself. You're doing it for this self-esteem thing, and it's obvious. Now, I'm not sharing this to say that I am perfect. Nope. My husband and I, we do stop to talk when we disagree. That does not mean we have not had some fun times. What I'm saying is, our emotions, more so when we are married, our emotions can get a little bit higher because we're close, we're family, we're just closer, and we feel like we're getting hurt. And so our response is a little bit more than if in other areas, or at least the way I would like to think that. It does not mean I have not been frustrated by people who have, or were supposed to be caring about me, because I've been treated bad, more so since COVID. And that has put me on a cautious mode, let me say. So as I watch these politicians who are leaders of our country, you represent this country across the world. How you behave, that's how you look. I think sometimes you might want to, or maybe you enjoy seeing yourself on video, but I think you should just take a look at how it is perceived. But I don't want to stick on politicians. I don't like politicians. I like some of the people, by the way. I just don't like how some of them treat others. One of the things that I have seen in our culture, and it's become really bad over the last 4 years, is how people go to TikTok or to Facebook or to YouTube, cashing on how they mistreat other people, how they make fun of other people, how they make fun of dementia people. I'll tell you, that's the one that broke my heart. There is this family that continually puts their mom, who has Alzheimer's, and they're always posting things, and it seems like it's, you know, she's having a good day, but it's kind of like they're always giggling and stuff. And honestly, if I was that person and I was alert, or I had moments of alertness, I'd be really hurt that my family would think that that's funny just to make money. Now, my channel currently is not optimized in terms of making money. Maybe it never will after this post. I can't worry about that right now because I'm sharing something that I think is really important to share. I've seen people make fun of other people. And I remember back in funniest home videos and stuff, I never liked that because sometimes they were funny, but then it became staged. And this is long before Facebook. I hated that show because it's like some things happen by accident and some things you're intentionally doing to hurt somebody. That's not funny. That's dumb. That's unkind. So this kind of behavior has been around forever. I think the part that really bothers me the most, because all of us need health care. Hold on to your straps, folks. Right now in our culture, more so since COVID, we have physicians have a lower trust scale than nurses, okay? I read something that, I don't know, it's like 20% less than nurses have, that doctors have. So doctors don't get the respect that they once did. And there's some reasons that I can conclude from it, and other people have agreed, not with me because I haven't shared it, but I have read some things as well, and it's usually the older nurses and older docs that are sharing it in these various social media type groups that I'm in. But when I see nurses making fun of patients on social media, you might not show that person. And some things are making a point of sharing some of the silly things that you go into the ER for. They're making a point because sometimes these things you should be taking care of at home. Now, but when you're in there and you're making fun of a patient who is struggling, okay? If somebody is in the hospital, they are hurting, or they just had surgery. You don't know the whole background of that person. And so you run the risk of somebody being cranky. That's just the way it is. Most patients who go into the hospital are kind. I know that because I've worked in the hospital. I saw people before they went into the OR. And I also worked up in the psych room. I also worked and the psych area is That's a different area. But you know what I learned? Those people are struggling. They really, really are. And yet if you just sit down, my job was in LNA then, and I just sat and listened to them. I would have to, some got upset because I wouldn't let them shower by themselves. And it's not that I sat there and watched them. You're just in another portion of the shower. They have total privacy, but you're there so that you can support them and you know what's going on. Sometimes we didn't have to. It depended on the patient and their needs. Those patients, oh my gosh, they had hearts. And sometimes I was able to just sit and spend time with them. They were pretty cool patients because they're just hurting. And so they're in that unit for the doctors and nurses to work on making them better. You never know if you're making fun of these people who are hurting, which can actually damage them more. Sometimes I was hit by these patients. I was in the pediatric ward once covering. I was a floater. My main place was preoperatively. And then, but to pick up extra hours and stuff, I would float, and sometimes I was on the different floors. I was in ICU, I would PCU. That was one place I got hurt. I was hurt in pediatrics. And this was like a 14-year-old boy. And he was dealing with some stuff. And I was in there, I was helping, and I went to do something, typical LNA responsibilities, and he hit me really, really hard. I didn't see it coming, but I was down. And so I had to go out. I was dizzy as all get out because he hit me that hard. So I went out to the head nurse and I said, I am not going, this is what happened. She goes, did he say anything? I said, no. I learned later what his problem was. So I said, I can't do this because my head was really dizzy. So I went down to the ER. They looked over me. I rested for a little bit until I was able to pull myself back together, and I went back to that unit. And the head nurse says, you don't have to stay. I said, no, I will work with you. And I said, I don't believe that patient meant it. And she said, he didn't. When he realized what he had done and his parents had gone in there, he just didn't understand. It was a response that he had no control over. So when I went in to go do some other things, he said, I am so sorry. 14 years old, struggling with whatever his condition was. He felt so bad. And then I see nurses making fun of patients who might not know what's going on with them. My heart broke for him. I said, hey, it's okay, but I'll stand over here if you don't mind, making a little light for him. But I didn't go onto social media to make fun of him because I knew there was something wrong. So when I went back and the nurses were telling me, he's not like this, but he does lash out. So it is, we all have to be careful. I got the support of the staff, I got the support of the family, and I got the support of a 14-year-old boy who really had no intention of hurting anybody because he appreciated the beautiful care that he was getting. The woman in ICU, no, it wasn't ICU, it was PCU, Progressive Care Unit. And she was mean. She was mean. And it was a one-on-one situation. A one-on-one situation is when a patient is not able to care for themselves. They're not stable enough, or they're a danger to themselves. So they always have to have somebody in a one-to-one situation. And she challenged me. She yelled at me. She asked for something. I said, no, I can't give that to you. And she insisted that she had a right. I said, we'll wait for the nurse to come back. I did everything that I thought was right, so maybe I wasn't. But I finally got the head nurse to come in, and I had to tell her, I can't. This patient was so verbally abusive that I was shaking. I had to hold my stance, and I walked away. I wasn't mad at her. I was just like, I felt so bad that she was in so much pain. Maybe it was psychological. Maybe it was something else. And the nurse, she really liked that nurse, and that's who she wanted. She connected with that nurse. And sometimes that happens. Patients connect with different nurses because of how they're cared for. I don't think the RN that came in after me was giving her any special treatment. She was doing the same stuff I was, except doing more nursing stuff because I was a nursing assistant. We all have our roles, and it's pretty cool. But so those are things that are happening in the hospital. And then there are things like, even for myself when I had Lyme disease, there's things that go on. I won't go into it here. But you go in and you're in pain or you're dealing with stuff. You talk to your doctor about it, but you don't talk to the receptionist about it. You don't talk about stuff. And the way we are talked to nowadays since 2020, it's been pretty rude. And you're talked at, you're not spoken to. If you say no to a question, you get spoken at. I'll put it that way. I've had a few of them raise their voice at me. And I'll just say, well, if this is the way the doctor feels, I said, I need you to go tell him what you're doing to me. And you ask him if I need to be here. Because if not, I have no problem. I can walk. And she would go to her boss and, no, we're going to see you this time. Okay, whatever. Fortunately, the doctor I'm talking about, I've had 2 specialists that they just roll their eyes at this nonsense. Or they don't have control. So they need their patients to stand up for themselves. But by the time we get into that room, our blood pressure is elevated. And we're kind of like, we're not sure what to do. So as I'm starting to see nurses vent on social media, on these YouTube shorts, on Facebook shorts, on, what's the other one, X or TikTok, I just want to say, with the respect that you have, which is greater than physicians in our culture right now, you scare me. Because some of you are just downright nasty. Your attitude towards your patients is downright nasty. Now, saying that, I have to say, patients are not so nice either. Patients are cruel. They make demands. This has been going on long before COVID. Long before. I've seen patients, one patient yelled at me once. I'm like, okay, I'll be back. And he apologized after because fortunately he had a family member there that kind of straightened him out. But when we go into a facility and we're demanding how to be treated, not respecting the jobs that they have to endure, then sometimes what we get back is exactly this nastiness. So, and I really love my nurses. I think they have a hard job. But it's that whole area of nursing is changing with an attitude issue. What's feeding it? Patients, administration. I don't think it's the doctors they work for. I mean, in some cases, I'm sure it is. There could be doctors that are kind of, there are doctors who have an attitude. But it's just a matter of how you handle it, and you just speak up to them and say, I will not be mistreated, I will not be disrespected. Now, why am I hanging on to politics and nursing? It's not just that. It's also relationships, familiar relationships, like with our spouses and with our children. I am just amazed at how many of you on TikTok or Facebook Shorts or YouTube Shorts, how you manage to stay married. I don't get it. Because if my husband ever posted one video making fun of me, I'd be gone in a heartbeat. Because you see, marriage is about commitment, it's about respect, and it's about honor. When you make fun of somebody, you're devaluing them. Nobody deserves that. And I realize there's mean people in this world that will always do that. But to cash in on that mistreatment, I don't know, I feel like maybe you need to reevaluate your marriage. Are you happy? Do you really enjoy being married? I think a lot of divorces happen because of how people are treated. Not just women walking out. I know that men walk out too. I find that I'm not here lecturing, by the way. I'm just sharing my thoughts because it's been heartbreaking. And I have sometimes said, why do you treat them like that? That is so unkind. It's not even funny. And yet everybody, even on the nursing one, everybody thinks it's funny. Well, no. Not everyone. A lot of them think it's funny. And the only ones that don't are people like myself or old-time nurses. So, how do I get over this? I block you. That's right. I block those that make fun of others. I block feeds that are just unkind. Because, I think social media can be used for the good. It can be used to encourage and inspire. The part that got me onto YouTube was at the onset of the world collapse, because I was having a hard time emotionally. And I just didn't do anything for months. So I was watching YouTube channels. I was actually looking at homesteading, gardening, how could I do my gardens better, because that was really my goal. And what other things could I do, because I realized that the world was not a safe place. Now, we all know that growing up, or at least in my generation. We grew up knowing the world wasn't safe. But the majority of people were not that mean. And now you see, this is another thing that it really bothers me. Why are we name calling? What the heck happened? We name call? Everybody's a Karen now? Karen and Kevin? Karen and Kent? I don't know, people are just doing this. And then I watched something more recently. I don't know why people are so angry. Usually people are angry because they're not getting their way. And we have not been teaching the younger society how to care for ourselves. And there's a lot of older people that are just left alone. Their spouse is gone. Spouse might have left, the children had left, not coming back. They're lonely, they're angry. The younger generation is just, many of them are just plain angry. I can't help you, but I do know there's actual ways to be joyful, but it starts with you desiring that. But I see these people, I see the officers, because I watch some of the police footage of, they call them Karens, but they also call them some other things, and they show how people are kind of like losing it. And they make me cry. They really do. And it's like, wow. Now, I'm not upset for the police. I'm not upset with them at all. You know why? They show the most compassion. Now, I'm sure there's some out there that don't. But they hold their tongue, they hold their frustration back for as long as they possibly can. And I have a higher respect for police officers, even the military, for the stuff that they have to do. These servants who are serving us to protect us go above and beyond. The people that are abusive out there, they're hurting. Police officers will probably tell you that. They want people to be better. People are struggling. People are stealing, in the stores and stuff like that. And I don't know if you know this, but Walmart has changed a few things. They have cameras everywhere. I'm not going into Walmart anymore because it's like, that's creepy. But if you're one who is going to steal from the self-checkout, they're going to catch you. They might not take you out then, but they have cameras watching you every single time you go through. Maybe not in all Walmarts, but that's what they're saying. Now, I just find it creepy to have somebody having a camera on me at all times. But nowadays we have to have cameras on our homes and everywhere we go, in our cars, all of that. It's kind of sad that we're like that nowadays because people run off. They cause harm. And so as I watch the police officers, even the female police officers, the names that these individuals are called, our servants who are serving us to protect us. Unbelievable. Yeah, okay, some of them are on drugs, and some of the people they're arresting are on drugs or they're drunk. You know, there's many things that can cause somebody to be like that, and sometimes it's just plain loneliness or a disease that they might have. They're frustrated. So I give these officers a great deal of respect because they are each doing their job the best they can. If you don't like the job that they're doing because you're getting caught, then maybe you need to reevaluate your life choices. I think we all can be kinder to one another. Now, I'm not sharing this to say that I am perfect. I'm not. I get upset with my husband. And he gets upset with me. We have different methods of how we handle our frustration because of our backgrounds, how we grew up. It's not an excuse. As one person said, you know, we shouldn't use that as an excuse. And I agree with that. But we also have to be attentive to how, when we get angry, what is triggering that. And that's a good word. Why does it trigger us? Watching how these people treat the officer breaks my heart. I cry. How people treat animals and make fun of them, and there's not a lot of them, but there are some, breaks my heart. Breaks my heart to see marriages. They're young people. And some of them I've seen later on, they're divorcing. Man, you know, you make a commitment to stay together. You fell in love, and so you find love is insulting and stuff. Now, in our relationship, and I'll speak on mine, sometimes we kid around and tease each other. Yeah, but sometimes when it goes too far, we just walk away. At least I do. Because it can be painful to be the person who's, I'm trying to think of the term, but I don't like to be the one who is the one that you're making fun of all the time. It's a heavy burden, and you don't want to respond, but eventually you just kind of like say, well, especially if you're in public, you just have to go back and just say, I cannot tell you how painful that is. Now, it rarely happens nowadays, but when we were younger, it happened. And that's part of, we got married young. We were, you know, just growing up. Now, David and I are very snarky. We laugh at life. And many times I have to be careful of who I'm around because, you know, we might laugh at life because we're a little bit of a rednecks. No, we're both a little redneck. But that does not mean that we mean harm to other people. So we're making sure we take a step back and reflect before we say anything with other people. And I think that is what's happening in healthcare too. Because some of the feedback with the nurses is, well, you guys the patients are mean and all this. And you know something? When I started going back in after COVID, I noticed that they were defensive before I was being seen. They were being defensive and harsh towards me. I was like, what did I do? I've been written up on my chart. And I've seen it, and I'm like, wow, even from the front desk person. And you know, it scares me in terms of how are we going to get appropriate health care if the people we are going in to see are angry, if they're bitter? I don't know. Because with that in mind, I'm making choices to try to fix things on my own. I need my doctor's care, but I don't need the emotional abuse that I encounter when I go in. So with family, with friends, how we treat one another is important. And I see good videos, and I think they're wonderful. Everybody is all about the animals nowadays, correct? We all love our animals. We think that animals should be well protected, and they should. And I watched a video tonight before I came on of some military. They're in a helicopter, and they carry their canine dogs on their chest when they go to jump. I was just like, my heart, I was just like, oh, this is just so cool. And how they've been trained, these canines have been trained to work as a team with these men. And then they fly to the ground, and you see how these dogs have been trained to get the person who needs to be captured. I don't know what they did. And yet, in the feed, people are complaining that's abusing dogs. You know, when we send our men and women to serve in our military, that's abusive. You might want to look at it that way. That's abusive. More so if we send them off to war in things that are not really our responsibility as United States citizens. That's abuse. That's human abuse. And yet they're training the canines, not just in military, but also in our police departments, to protect our men and women. That needs to happen because everybody's losing it. I think there comes a time where whether you are a care provider, whether you are a patient, whether you are a spouse, a parent, a child, a customer, because a lot of those people who are cashing you out, they get harassed all day long. You ask them, how's your day going? Hasn't been good. Sometimes it's been great. It's been great, I've only been here 5 minutes. We can do better than that. If we want to be treated with kindness, and we need to give back and show kindness, compassion, and love towards others. Doesn't mean we have to accept bad behavior. I don't know how these police officers do it. I don't know how RFK or Tulsi did that. I just like, I don't need this. And so what, I'm trying not to cry here because I believe people have hearts. People have feelings. But like, I think the nice thing about Tulsi is once she gets into that position, if she's confirmed, and I don't know at this juncture, I don't know if she's been confirmed, if either of them have been, they will do a good job, both of them. And I know that Tulsi, I have the utmost respect for a woman who has worked hard, has worked for the people, has served in our military for over 20 years. Over 20 years this woman has done that. Her drive isn't about money. Her drive isn't about esteem. It's about serving the American people. Healthcare providers used to be about serving the people, and that has changed. And I'm sorry, I'm not ragging on you guys. I'm just saying the ones that don't make fun of people, okay, or abuse people. I miss the old school doctors. They used to give us a half an hour or so. And now if I make an appointment and I know that my schedule might be more than 20 minutes, I have to request the extra time. Don't always get it. And, but I do respect the doctors that do. Because one doctor, he's now retired, we're scheduled for half an hour. And sometimes my appointment would go over because of what I was dealing with. It was a lot to do with the Lyme disease and some other complications, so he had to do a little bit more and stuff. That's because he cared. I wasn't treating him with disrespect, because I think if I had, he would have let me go. Although he was a really lovely, lovely soul. I miss him being a doctor. So I miss the old way in which medicine was practiced. The dynamics of it have changed because of how the government intervened, and they've been intervening for a long time, but it was how they insisted you must do, and that kind of mandate stuff in how they approached it, that's mistreatment of human beings. Were they right or were they wrong? Stuff's coming out today to say yay or nay. But it also changed our healthcare providers, and they're all angry. They don't want to be angry, but they are. One time I was talking to one of my nurses, and I got on the phone, and I could feel the tension. And I said, "Are you okay?" And I think, because I tried to be really nice. Sometimes I'm not good either. Sometimes I'm having a bad day. It's all about how we read the other person and take the time to say, "Are you okay?" And maybe that's what we need to do. I need to do it. Sometimes I'll see my husband, he's just kind of scratching his head, kind of bothered by something, and I'll just say, "Are you okay?" Did I say something? Did I ask too much of you? Sometimes he'll see that I'm quiet. I'm just sitting there, kind of thinking about things, and I do that a lot. I'll just look out the window, and he'll come over. "Are you okay?" "Yep, I'm just in my bubble. I'm thinking." And sometimes he'll notice that I have tears rolling down my eyes. And he asks, "Are you doing okay?" It's okay to ask somebody that question. It's okay to care about others. But it's also okay, on the other end, whether you're a business owner, physician, or nurse, or whatever, it is okay to treat patients the way that you want to be treated. Because for myself, I think many other patients feel this way. When we go in, even though we're frustrated, we want to be treated with respect. But I'm hearing you, because I've seen patients, not just when I was working in healthcare, but I've seen in hallways and stuff like that, how mean people are. Maybe we should just, and I'm including myself in all this, by the way, of what can we do to be kind? What can we do to treat the cashier better? David's always telling me, you always say, "Have a good day." You always invite them into a conversation. You know why? Because all they're doing is pushing buttons and stuff. I was a cashier when I first started working. That was fun. That was back when we actually typed things in. And customers used to get really worried because I typed so fast. They would call the head cashier over, "She's going too fast." So people complained because they were watching the numbers going in and they didn't want to be overcharged. I understood that. So I had some customers didn't care. Some people wanted, "Put it through, get me out." But you always get one or two that don't like that because they want to make sure they're not, overpaying. That's respectable. Just like, "I'm sorry, I will slow down if you want. I'll go over this with you, and we'll send all the other customers to another thing." That was very, very rare. And then when you go to someone who's a service person, just treat them with kindness. And I do know that it seems like we can't have fun in life anymore because life is funny. I think when we had the chickens and stuff, they have personalities and they make you laugh at life. And I see people with their animals and stuff, and I love how they care about them so well. They'll play with their dogs, but they'll yell at their kids. That's conflicting to my brain because I think we should work together. This is just food for thought. This is just some things that has been on my mind. And here, hold on a second. And I just wanted to share one of the scriptures. Those of you who know me, I'm a Christian. I'm not here to convert. I'm not here to make you see things my way at all. Just because I have my views, I would love someday for you to view it that way too. But even in the church culture, if you think about it, every denomination sees things differently. And so I just choose to read the scriptures and go in that direction. So I want to share something. In Philippians chapter 2, verse 3, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourself." So what does that mean? Let people walk all over you? No. Just show them respect, love them, and have compassion. Doesn't mean you have to put up with stuff. You can put up. No, I'm not going to do that anymore. And we do have to put boundaries up in our lives when people change. And when they change to where they are mistreating you, it is okay to say, time out, I need a break. Might mean that you may never see them again. It might mean that time will pass and then you reunite and start fresh. Life is hard. And I'm saddened to see where this culture is. Now, all I do with those memes or those videos that are the shorts and stuff, it's like, one time I might watch it and then I'll go to their page and I'll look to see how all of them are. If it's just one, they're just having a day. If it's every single one, because they get a lot of views, I block them. Now, that's not to be mean, and some people will say that's not good. I've been told not to block people who when you have a channel, make sure you don't block people even if they say negative. I don't have a problem with people who desire to say something negative. It's just the approach. Putting other people down, I will not accept, because if you can't understand where I'm coming from, then ask a question. Don't beat people up because you feel the need to. I see it all over the place on social media, and it's just like, okay, I'm done with that one. And these are people we don't know, but you never know if they might be somebody you meet later down the road. And so I'm just putting my barrier out there, keeping my eyes. So as I close, my battery died. I think I need to get new batteries. So as I close, I wanted to share with you, I hope that we can come to a point where we stop calling each other names. We need to stop being selfish and hurting other people, taking what's not ours, and just being kind. And we can all do this. It's going to take some change because we have developed habits over the last 4 years. So it will take time. But maybe we can have somebody like we work with to check in and just keep you in line. My husband does this to me. I do it to him, because we can all get to being negative. We can all get to that point where it's like they complain. When my husband complains on stuff and it annoys me, because my goal in life is to find joy and to be positive. And there's been some stuff that has happened in my life that, I guess I could justify being angry. I can justify being mad. I can justify lashing out at people and doing whatever I want. I could justify that. But I'm choosing not to, because I find more happiness in my heart than forgiving them. Not that necessarily some people deserve it, but that's not my job. That's God's decision on who's to forgive and who he forgives and so forth. But I can choose to not dwell in the pain. And by the way, when you're hurt, sometimes it can last, for sure. And I just think that we can do better. We can do much better. And if we do, we might see marriages thrive again. I believe there's good marriages out there, but there's a lot of broken marriages. People giving up. And those are hard. To see people have been together 15, 20 years and then they break up because they can't get it together. And I think I shared on a post last week maybe that even for my husband and I, if we disagree, I've shared it sometime. In the past, there was a time I wanted to walk out when we were young in our marriage. At the time we had kids. Because working a couple jobs, raising the kids, getting childcare, all this kind of stuff, it was hard. And you just feel all alone, and I think if I had to do one thing over, I would not have worked when I was raising my kids. When we decided on children, I would have quit my job. Why? Because, in my opinion, I realize a lot of people would think, oh, Laura, you're not caring about the other women. No, I think this is a personal choice. If I had to do it over again, we would have figured out a way to stay home. And actually, when our third child was born, my decision was, I was telling my husband, I said, okay, you got a good job. I'm going to quit. I'm going to let them know I'm going to quit, like give them 3 months notice after I went back so they had time to replace me. And then David got really sick. First, my middle daughter got sick with pneumonia, and she was in the hospital for a week. And so I was really well aware of what the symptoms of pneumonia was. And then my husband started having pneumonia issues. And, in a matter of a month, and you think you're going to lose not only a child, but your spouse, that's really uncomfortable, and it's scary. So I saw what was going on. We went right to the doctor, and I wasn't sure where the doctor was coming from, but he says, okay, now what do you want me to do? I said, get him in the hospital. I said, he's sick, he has pneumonia. And the doctor smiled. He goes, I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to send him to the hospital. I think even back then, doctors are afraid of the response because people are afraid of a negative diagnosis. He wasn't afraid of an outbreak like we see today in culture. It was like he didn't want us to flip out and not be prepared. I said, nope, I'm prepared. He has a bag in the car. And I did. I packed him a bag before we left. Okay, so he got sick right before I gave birth to our third child. We planned on me staying home. Wasn't going to happen because he needed to quit his job that had chemicals that were making him really, really sick. Now, he works at a company where the chemicals are really bad, and they're trying to work with him so he's not so exposed to it, but I worry every single day that I could lose him. So we're watching symptoms, we're doing alternate medicine, and he has other inhalers and stuff for emergency, but I look at the anger in this world as being sad because every day I pray my husband is safe on the road. Every day I pray for his health. Every day I pray for my children and my grandchildren as well. Because you know what? It doesn't matter. It could happen in a minute, an hour, in a day. We don't know where life is going to turn. And I would rather end life knowing that the other person was blessed by the relationship we had. So we can all do better. I think we all want to do better. We're just not taking a look at the pros and cons of our behavior and not being accountable. It's not funny to be unkind. Sometimes being redneck snarky can be fun, but not everybody understands it. So we have to kind of hold our own here. And I can be that way because I see humor in life. I see humor in chickens. I see humor in squirrels. Yeah, we used to get squirrel. We used to feed the birds, the wildlife, before we had chickens. We would get upwards to 24, 36 squirrels in our yard. Literally, the ground was moving because that's the way it is. And I would get very snarky about it. And David would too. But I'm hoping this is an encouragement to work on ourselves. And when I share something, I try to be very accountable. And before sharing, I prayed, how can I say this without making me look better than anybody else? Because I'm not. I'm not better than anybody else. I have my faults. I'm just hoping that all of us can do better and be kind. Show appreciation to those who do service for you. Show appreciation for your spouse and your children. And simply be kind. And folks, life is short. It might not seem like it, but life is short. Make it the best. Allow yourself to smile through it all. Folks, I hope that you have a wonderful weekend, and God bless you.